Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see everybody on this lovely Tuesday afternoon, evening, morning, whatever it is for you. What are we talking about today? Well, this is all Barb's fault, and I don't see Barb yet, but this is all her fault, so of course she would run. Anyways, I was originally going to do a camera episode, and then something came up, and I thought y'all should know about it. So, we're going to talk about Operation Black Start. And the reason this came up is because in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it looks like they got started with Operation Black Start a day early. So we'll take a look at that, what's going on in the news right now. And then we will get into what is Black Start, why I'm bringing it up, and kind of what it is that we have to be thinking about or aware of. So let's say hello and we'll get right into it. We have the lovely Big Giant Fuck himself. We have Jason J. What's up, buddy? I'm here waiting right. No time to hear Aussie's thing either, but the time I was there, I spent in chat. Now here I am, and you know who is not going to be there early. Blah. I was relatively on time. Shut up, D's. What's up, buddy? That's true. 5 minute. What's up, man bun? Mystic. Hello, hello. All right. So I am also not going to say a single word about the trial because everybody and their brother is covering it. So hope you guys enjoyed one of the 73 people that are covering it. What's up, Cheese? How you doing, buddy? So, what is Operation Black Start? So after 9/11, some people 100%. What's up, Matt? So Operation Black Start is a program that was initiated after 9/11, as many other programs were. It highlights how unstable and irregular our grid is and how a couple well-designed attacks could bring down our entire grid. So our power grid, Black Start is the reopening plans for our power grid in the event that there's a major catastrophic development, and that could be from natural disaster. It could be from, I don't know, maybe some power plants exploding. That would never happen. It could be from some sort of terrorist attack. It could be from a foreign government. It could be from an electromagnetic pulse of some sort. There are several ways that you could do it. You could literally do it without some kind of kinetic warhead or kinetic bomb. It'd be fairly easy to do if you knew how to do it appropriately. So our grid is not the most stable of things. Yeah, Jason, not particularly. This one is more of a plan. So, and I think it's important. I think that a lot of the government things were designed either to afford themselves more power. What's up, Jacob? Or it was as a show, so they could make people feel feel much more safe and comfortable than they probably are. So, didn't stop the power outage. But it's not supposed to stop the power outages. It's supposed to be something that's catastrophic to our grid that brings it back online. Stopping power outages is a completely different thing. That would require burying lines and a ton of other shit. There's also a pretty big one here in Detroit. We're talking about catastrophic. The entire United States grid is down. Uh, so that's kind of what we're looking at here. And as I said, it was implemented after 9/11, and it is a grid-wide outage scenario, not a specific scenario. The reality is that a redesign in transformers could avoid this problem altogether, but the companies are too damn cheap, and the government won't actually fix problems. They'll just make contingencies for the fuck ups that are inevitably about to happen. So, we could fix it with an interruption system, but that would be thinking ahead, and the government's not going to do that. So, black start. So, black start, which is important to safe, reliable, and resilient operation of electric power systems and a critical part of system restoration for power grids. Again, this isn't a regional or uh, uh, citywide or anything like that, even statewide. This is a national power grid issue. So, I got a personal tour of the Pacific Northwest Power Grid Brain Center in Redmond, Washington. It's like NORAD and just about as secure. Yeah, very much so. Um, they are hardened facilities, but they're not impenetrable. Black start is the ability of generation to restart parts of the power system to recover from a blackout. This entails isolated power stations and being started individually and gradually reconnected to one another to form interconnected system again. It's used when the grid experiences a blackout and must be restarted from scratch. As such, black start is a critical resource for maintaining the reliability and resilience of the electric power system and is central to the system restoration and recovery plans for system operators. And this just tells a little bit about it. We can go through a little bit. This is from a specific company, but we're going to get into. There's many people involved, NGOs, government, in the Black Start initiative. So in large power grids, Black Start service comes from the generators that can be started from an on-site auxiliary generator without help from external power supplies. For example, a diesel generator may be started with a local battery. This is used to create AC voltage waveform that other generation can synchronize to start to generate additional power. Microgrids can provide local reliability and resilience through local generation. Microgrids insulate local customers from the effects of outages on the larger grid and can be used to start the system from the bottom up. Microgrids that are connected to one another and the larger grid need to be able to switch to island mode seamlessly to insulate themselves during widespread disruptions such as blackouts and cyber attacks. Yeah, that's the one we missed. Cyber attacks. Yeah, the tech is very, very old. Hasn't been upgraded in a very long time, and is very susceptible to several things. Microgrids are deployed in power systems. Options for expanding system restoration beyond large-scale generation need to be considered. These assets will need black start resource testing to ensure that they can energize equipment to restore the system as intended in the restoration plans. So, I guess what? No, Wikipedia, I'm not giving you money. So I thought this was an interesting map just so we can Black Start, perhaps with the massive funding of BlackRock. I'm not. I'm not so sure on that one. I'm sure that they're involved in something because they're involved in everything. But I I'm I'm not entirely sure on that connection. So these are just some of the systems operators: Electric Reliability Council of Texas, California ISO, Southwest Power Pool, Mid-Continent ISO, PJM. So these are a couple of different of the grid locations or grid breakdowns, just for a reference photo. And there are others. Shit, where did it go? That's that. That's that one. So here's just another kind of where I wanted to go is kind of jump back and forth. Hydropower plants is Black Start Resources. So Black Start was through the federal government, and it was all of our stock of resources was put into how we can effectively restart the power grid if something like a cyber attack, terrorist attack, EMP, that type of thing were to happen. We're not gonna talk in depth about this, but here's hydropower plants as Black Start Resources. Blah blah blah. During a power outage, a power plant operator can typically still rely on the electric grid to which the plant is connected to supply power from the plant's house loads, e.g. lights, data systems, telecoms equipment, as well as for auxiliary equipment needed to start generating unit or keep it running. In the event of a widespread outage, however, the electric grid may also be out of service and thus unavailable to provide the power to any of the power generation plants when it's within its service territory. This situation drives the need for a type of plant that is able to start generator units from completely unenergized state without the need for external power from the grid. This provisioning is called Black Start. So this is just using hydropower. We changed topics. I'm sorry. That'll be next week. I'm sorry, Minbun. This was much more topical. So, why is this up? This is not what I was. Half the shit I bring up, I have no idea where the hell it came from. So this is just another example of using different things to restart. One of the things with our grid is, if you're unaware, it's very interconnected. So if you have a power plant in, let's say, Flagstaff, Arizona, that supplies power to Tucson, and Tucson supplies power to, hell, I don't know. I should have used something other than Arizona because that's the only cities I know. But they kind of work on a redundancy. So one will supply power to reoperate and re-energize a different power plant. And that power plant will run off from a different power plant. And it's just this endless redundancy that's planned in. And part of the thing is, even when there's a blackout or there's no power for even an extended period of time, things are still energized. It just isn't meeting the power demand. And then they'll switch power sources. And even if this one's not generating, they can have another one within the network. And there's enough redundancy to back it up. Were there a widespread power event or even a significant regional power event, that service would be interrupted and you would have to re-energize and restart from nothing. And that isn't as simple as just turning the switch back on, because this power plant can't generate unless it's running off from this plant, and this plant can't generate from unless it's running off from this plant. And so it kind of goes in that. Hey, what's up, Chandler? How you doing? I remember back in my home in Michigan when Michigan, now called DTE, would absolutely take their sweet time getting power back on when the storms here in Western Michigan. Wonder if they got it together. No, DTE is an absolute shit show. Still to this day. Still to this day, absolute shit show. So that's that. DTE is absolute garbage, and I hate them with a passion. They still drag their feet and take their time. And it's incredibly annoying. So, as promised, I told you I would tie this into why I thought it was important today. And here is one of the reasons, and then we'll get into how this ties into several other reasons. So, as you see, sorry, I had to grab a drink. Breaking multiple authorities responding to a large explosion and fire at a power plant in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yeah. Shut up, D's. Currently, multiple law enforcement and government agencies have responded. He's got to write better. To a significant two-alarm fire incident at the power grid plant located in Brunner Island in Pittsburgh, PA. Authorities have confirmed a catastrophic failure of the reactor at the power plant. As a result, thick black smoke and flames are visible from several miles away. It's currently unknown if anyone at the plant was injured. And we have a quick little video here. Go.
Just heard a massive boom as I walked from McKees Rocks toward the south side, and something blew up over there on fire. Sorry, my commentary is nothing more than stating the obvious.
That's the best commentary.
First.
There it is. That thing, oh, I can smell it too.
They're saying, damn, that's a big fire. So that's what's currently happening this morning in Pittsburgh. For reference, since I was due, here is the island in question, right next to this thing that says McKees Rocks. That's one of the areas. That's the area where the thing is. Pittsburgh is right here. The three rivers come together. So this is Pennsylvania. This is the East Coast. I'm in here. And the United States of America. So we also got an update. According to local news sources, access to the island has been limited by ferries across the Ohio River to Brunel Island, the site of several power substations that are on fire at the Brunel Island power station. So this is the same, basically the same video.
That's not good.
Hey, what's up, Daisy girl? So why is this important? Hang on, I want to look at the power station. Well, let's see what the current update says. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I'm looking up a picture of the fire station. Or the power plant. There we go. Wikmapia? I've never heard of this, but so here's again the Bruno Island Power Station. 3 oil-fired simple cycle peaking units that have a total generation capacity of 53 megawatts, and a natural gas-fired combined cycle plant that has a capacity of 262 megawatts. The facility is located on a 129-acre island on the Ohio River, approximately 2 miles down river from downtown Pittsburgh, and began operation in 1972. The installation of selective catalytic conversion equipment in 2002 has reduced nitrogen oxide air emissions. So it's a natural gas power plant, pretty good capacity on it. I was looking at this because they supposedly had a picture. Oh, there's the picture. So this is the picture of the plant in question. So we have 3 generating stations. Pittsburgh's very cliffy, very hilly, kind of fun. 2009, a seagull took out power to the entire city of Two Rivers, Wisconsin for 3 days in this fashion at the power station on Highway 310. Huh, it's interesting. It's an interesting way to look at it, sir. All right, so we'll go over here. Fire breaks out on Bruno Island due to transformer that catastrophically failed. Oh, they have a cool video.
Tina's in
This chick
spicy
has to say.
food, so she ordered the Szechuan fire pot. But she's paying with the new Prime Visa.
Apparently,
so
I can't
2% back.
do anything here
Now that's rewarding.
because it's a shit ad.
That video was something, you're certainly right. Those multiple explosions leading to large flames just shooting from Bruno Island. Now, just in the last few hours, we have gotten new information from Duquesne Light. They tell us the fire was contained to something called a shunt reactor. In the meantime, we spent the day talking to folks who live and work in the area, and they tell us they still have a lot of questions. Monroe Coleman Jr. lives just a few blocks away from the Ohio River and the site of last night's fire on Bruno Island.
We didn't lose power.
And that surprised the retired veteran, who now spends much of his days fishing in this spot across from the power station. Duquesne Light officials releasing new details late this afternoon. They say the fire was contained to a specialized transformer, also known as a shunt reactor. They describe it as a container of oil and coils of copper used to manage electric voltage. This is different than a power transformer, according to officials. A statement from DLC saying in part, quote, DLC does not generate power and only operates transmission and distribution facilities. We've also learned there is a power generating facility on the island, in addition to that substation. DLC says that facility was not involved or impacted in last night's fire that sent smoke billowing into the air for hours.
Concern about the air quality, for sure.
Shut up, bitch. Duke Energy owns most of the East Coast at this point. The fire started around 8 p.m. at the Duquesne Light Power Station located on the island. Assistant Pittsburgh Fire Chief Brian Kokila said the transformer failure sparked multiple explosions, which resulted in one large fire and several smaller fires throughout the station. Pittsburgh Public Safety said Duquesne Light Company was on the scene and reported this is a result of a specialized transformer that... Why are you moving on me? Shit. That catastrophically failed. Just like that. That isn't my problem. Government made it. You should write your congressman. I don't want to listen to your climate change bullshit. Specialized transformer, also known as a shunt reactor, is a container of oil and coils of copper used to manage electric voltage. It is different than a power transformer, which is used to transform power between different voltages. Pittsburgh's Action 4 News confirmed that there is also a power generating facility owned by Gen 1 that is located on the island. In addition to DLC substation, DLC says it was not damaged during the fire. There were no injuries to the first responders or DLC crews, and there's no threat to the public. Always no threat to the public. Police on scene said fire crews had to ferry over to the island since there's no vehicle bridge to the island. Kokela said his crews couldn't immediately attempt to extinguish the fire due to a 340,000 plus volt within the station. And those are interruptible power supplies, so they're really kind of the safety centers to a substation like that. So yeah, it's kind of odd that one of those blew up, honestly, if you know anything about power generation or power substations. That was weird. They do fail from time to time. They do fail due to lack of maintenance, but they're kind of the step down and interruptible power supplies that make it safe. So Kokela said the plan had been in place for 20 years and been employed in the past. It uses a barge and tugboat to transport fire crews to the scene. Holy shit. Gross. Yeah, it is the cutoff, essentially. It's how they step down and it's how they gap the system. So when they're changing lines and stuff like that, that is the safety cutoff, essentially. So yeah, really unfortunate. I would wonder if there's any threat to the community. I know it's a power plant, it's a coal-fired plant, it's not nuclear or anything like that. But I don't know if this fire could spread to other things. Hazardous materials stored at the plant, Ian Muncie said. He sounds like a douche. Wow. Operation Black Start, and this is a Pittsburgh's getting a start. I haven't got to the kind of the money shot yet. We're just talking about a current event, so perfect. That's the way I like it. A fire broke out in the Burnout Island power plant. Police told me fire crews are having to ferry over the island. There's not a vehicle bridge. We heard that already. There's another video. Official said the fire and any related hazards were contained to Burnout Island and the area around the transformer. Sure, I'm not listening to this fucking statement again. Fire crews successfully put out the fire on Burnout Island last night. Our crews remain on the scene to assess the full damage, which is contained to an area around the transformer, and have begun the cleanup process. The incident has not resulted in any threats to the public or disruption to electric service. That's surprising. We will continue investigating the cause and working with appropriate agencies to ensure continued safety of our employees, customers, and the environment. We thank everyone involved in their hard work and diligence getting this matter resolved safely. How concerned am I about the health risks from this fire? Not at all. Shit, I'm not doing a fucking customer service survey. Yes, it will. So now we're all caught up on the why. why we're talking about this. And this, again, is all Barb's fault. I had a different plan for tonight. And Barb totally fucked it up by bringing this up. Wait. We could talk. Okay. So, here's why this is interesting. And why I thought they might be getting a jump start on things. So here is, we all know that this is all Barb's fault. Yeah, damn it, Barb. And she doesn't even show up. She did, I believe. So 20 minutes behind. Okay, so we know that several times the United States government has these nationwide drills, correct? Military, public sector, all that kind of stuff. We know also that just out of pure coincidence, nothing else, don't get all excited about the YouTube. We know that out of complete coincidence, the same exact day that they're drilling things, whatever they're drilling about happens. A certain day called September 11th, 2001 was just like that. They were drilling on NORAD and hijacked aircraft. I start at Pittsburgh. Well, so that's what we're getting to. So it could be absolute coincidence, 100% coincidence, but so the United States government tomorrow is doing a massive nationwide Black Start exercise, and one of the largest participators in the Black Start exercise is Fort Riley in Kansas. So we're going to learn a little bit about that too. So here's the gentleman that's going to tell you all about. Oh, nope. So this is one of the people taking part, but what are they doing? So they are going to de-energize entire grids and sections, and they're going to try and re-energize them without. I don't know if you're here to begin with, Jonathan, but I'll explain it quickly, real quick. Just a quick, half explanation. Most of them are redundant and interconnected. So power stations are connected. So one works off another, works off another, works off another. So they never go completely dark or completely black, as it's called. When they do, it's called a black start because it takes a ton of resources and a ton of energy to re-energize systems to keep going. So that's what this is all about, is Operation Black Start. Then China's going to bomb Taiwan. Yeah. There's going to be some super secret solar activist soldier, fuck the grid. That's what I'm talking about. That's the concern. And that's why I say maybe Pittsburgh got a jump on it. So, man, fun. The original Operation Black Start, he has band practice on Tuesday nights. So here's a little bit about this asshole talking about Black Start in Fort Riley, Kansas.
Hello, my name is Clay Nauman, Fort Riley Garrison DPTMS Director. Man-made or natural disasters can occur at any time, which may result in the temporary loss of power on the installation. In order to prepare for these types of events, the Army has directed installations to conduct training events called Black Start exercises. Fort Riley will conduct our Black Start exercise on the 26th of July. All segments of the installation will be impacted, ranging in time from 2 to 8 hours. Training for these types of events will allow us to prepare for short-term power outages on the installation and help us to respond and recover to power loss and get the installation back to normal operations. Preparation for this type of event is key. Tips are available on the Fort Riley Garrison webpage. Plan ahead and be Army strong.
Plan ahead and be Army strong. Holy shit. X-Comer's back. What's up, buddy? Did you see all the rumors Blunt Force Obama was paddling also? Wow. They fled in a hurry and was writing a book about the prez he served under? No, I didn't hear anything about that. We'll definitely talk about it, though, because I know that's been on everybody's mind. Wow. Writing a book about the prez. Wow. No, I've been tangentially paying attention to it, but I'll definitely throw some I'll do some research while we're watching the next video, and we'll get to that, because I know that's been big news too. It wouldn't surprise me that he's involved, at least somewhat. So there's Fort Riley. And trying to find... I'm trying to find the person least likely to strike me. Oh, that's cool. We'll watch this too, just for the hell of it. But I don't know if anybody's ever seen Practical Engineering, but he has a great video on Black Starts. Maybe we'll look at that. But why I was looking for that has all the download info. Yeah, exactly. He does. He certainly does. All right, so this is starting up of a nuclear reactor that I just had in my thing. So fuck it, we're gonna watch it. It's 45 seconds. So cool. Anyways, so that was a short. Nope, that's not the one I wanted. So here is what is a black start. And we'll watch through this, and this will explain it better than I can. Shit, does he go through the whole thing? Yeah, maybe.
November 1965 saw one of the most widespread power outages in North American history. On the freezing cold evening of the 9th, the grid was operating at maximum capacity as people tried to stay warm, when a misconfigured relay tripped a breaker on a key transmission line. The loss of that single line cascaded into a loss of service for over 30 million people in the Northeast US, plus parts of Ontario and Canada. Restoring electricity to that many people is no simple task. In this case, the startup began with a little 12-megawatt gas generator in Southampton, New York. That's about the capacity of 4 wind turbines, but it was enough to get power plants in Long Island back online, which were able to power up all of New York City, eventually returning service to all those 30 million people. The grid is a little bit of a house of cards. It's not necessarily.
And if you've never heard of this guy, oh, damn, XCommer's a new member. What's up, buddy? Thank you. If you've never heard of this guy, it's Grady. It's called Practical Engineering. Really good channel for science and tech kind of shit. He mostly does like civil engineering, that kind of stuff.
Fairly flimsy, but if the whole thing gets knocked down, you have to rebuild it one card at a time and from the ground up. Restoring power after a major blackout is one of the most high-stakes operations you can imagine. The consequences of messing it up are enormous, but there's no way to practice a real-life scenario. It seems as simple as flipping a switch, but restoring power is more complicated than you might think. And I built a model power grid here in the studio to show you how this works. This is my last video in a deep dive series on widespread outages to the power grid. So go back and check out those other videos if you want to learn more. I'm Grady, and this is Practical Engineering. In today's episode, we're talking about black starts of the grid.
I don't know how
This
far
video is
his.
sponsored by HelloFresh. More on them later.
Okay, we'll keep going. Smarter Every Day is pretty good too.
An ideal grid keeps running indefinitely. Maybe it sustains localized damage from lightning strikes, vehicle accidents, hurricanes, floods, and wayward squirrels, but the protective devices trigger circuit breakers to isolate those faults and keep them from disrupting the rest of the system. But we know that no grid is perfect, and occasionally the damage lines up just right, or the protective devices behave in unexpected ways that cascade into a widespread outage. I sometimes use the word blackout kind of freely to refer to any amount of electrical service disruption, but it's really meant to describe an event like this, a widespread outage across most or all of an interconnected area. Lots of engineering, dedicated service from line workers.
And to be clear, the Black Start program and the different things that that are connected to this is talking about a national grid failure. So again, something that is an EMP, something that is a terrorist attack, something like that. You might get a handy, never a refund. What? I mean, you might get one anyways, Beers. So this, we're talking about a national grid down scenario.
Plenty of lessons learned from past mishaps and a little bit of good fortune have all meant that we don't see too many true blackouts these days, but they still happen, and they're still a grid operator's worst nightmare. We explored the extreme consequences that come from a large-scale blackout in a previous video. With those consequences in mind, the task of bringing a power grid back online from nothing, called a black start, is frightfully consequential, with significant repercussions if things go wrong. The main reason why black starts are so complicated is that it takes power to make power. Most large-scale generating plants, from coal-powered to gas-powered to nuclear, need a fair amount of electricity just to operate. That sounds counterintuitive, and of course configurations and equipment vary from plant to plant, but power generating stations are enormous industrial facilities. They have blowers and scrubbers, precipitators and reactors, compressors, computers, lights, coffee makers, control panels and pumps, so many pumps. Lubrication pumps, fuel pumps, feed
Lubrication pumps, I know that's your favorite.
water pumps, cooling water pumps, and much,
Oh, you're into tubes?
more. Most of this
I thought you were
equipment
into
is both
sticks.
necessary for the plant to run and requires electricity. Even the generators themselves need electricity to operate. I don't know.
And that's what I was talking about. It's a cascading effect. It's this station provides power for this station to get back up and running. So it's not like you can just flip a switch and everything comes back on. That's not how it works, because the power generation is coming from another power generating station, not internally.
On a grid scale 3-phase generator yet, but I do have an alternator
That's
for
true.
a pickup truck, and they are remarkably similar devices. You probably already know that moving a conductor through a magnetic field generates a current. This physical phenomenon, called
You should
induction,
know.
is the basis for almost all electricity generation on the grid. Some source of motion we call the prime mover, often a steam-powered turbine, spins a shaft.
Wheels on our cars don't have axles like that. I know that some vehicles, including the Teslas, they have regenerative braking, which is essentially just this. The problem is you're putting out the power and it's lost your heat and friction on the road, so you don't get enough to. You're not going to get enough to generate to re-energize the car. It just puts a little back into other systems. So
Shaft called a rotor inside a set of coils. But you won't see a magnet on the rotor of a grid scale generator, just like if you look closely inside the case, you won't see a magnet
that's true,
inside my
AP.
alternator. You just see another winding of copper wire. Turns out that this physical phenomenon works both ways. If you put a current through a coil of wire, you get a magnetic field. If that coil is on a rotor, you can spin it like so.
Question: can this survive an EMP? Let's face it, Taiwan and Russia has fully working EMPs, and the government won't admit it. No, this is to limit the interruption from that. So this is a response directly to an EMP, and it is bringing some sources of power back online to be able to recascade. However, we would still need to replace a massive amount of technology and hard infrastructure that would take a very long time to. So the short answer is, if we get hit with an EMP, realistically, we're fucked. Like, entirely fucked, if it's powerful enough and done correctly. If you wipe out a huge section of the grid, although we're getting better at modernizing grids, the United States, our biggest thing would be just that, an EMP. We would be crippled by it. It's made again, not to survive, but to lessen the impact of. So it's made for something like a Carrington event. Yes, it would probably be able to get it back in line quicker, because you would be able to trickle down and jumpstart some of the smaller generating stations, and wouldn't have to rely on ones that maybe haven't been. The thought is, or the hope is, that there's enough in the chain of power stations where you wouldn't have to. It would be rationed, but it wouldn't be completely out. So you're opening enough of these smaller ones, or independent stations, or solar arrays, that you can start the grid back up. But yeah, a Carrington event is essentially a localized EMP. So it's the same thing. It's just the sun does it instead of Russia. That's true, and they probably won't do that. If any of those scenarios happen, we would be in some very critical times, with some very critical issues. So
This is my model power plant. I got this idea from a video by Bellingham Technical College, but their model was a little more sophisticated than mine. Let me give you a tour. On the right, we have the prime mover. Don't worry about the fact that it's an electric motor. My model power plant consumes more energy than it creates, but I didn't want to build a mini steam turbine just for this demonstration. The thing that's important is that the prime mover drives a 3-phase generator, in my case through this belt. And the generator you already saw is a car alternator that I modified to create an alternating current instead of a direct current like what's used in a vehicle. The alternator is connected to some resistors that simulate loads on the grid. And I have an oscilloscope hooked up to one of the phases so we can see the AC waveform. Yeah, all this is so we could just see that sine wave on the oscilloscope. It could have been a couple of tiny 3-phase motors. It could have even just been a signal generator. But you guys love these models, so I thought you deserved something slightly grander in scale. There's a few other things here too, including a second model power plant, but we'll get to those in a minute. The alternator I used in my model has 2 brushes of graphite that ride along the rotor so that we can supply current to the coil inside to create an electromagnet. This is called excitation, and it has a major benefit over using permanent magnets in a generator. It's
he has a shit shaft, and it looks like that nut's about to come off. Just for the record.
adjustable. Let's power up the prime mover to see how it works. If there's no excitation current, there's no magnetic field, which means there's no power. We're just spinning 2 inert coils of wire right next to each other. But watch what happens when I apply some current to the brushes. Now the rotor is excited, and I have to say I'm pretty excited too, because I can see that we're generating power. As I increase the excitation current, we can see that the voltage across the resistor is higher, so we're generating more power. Of course, this additional power doesn't come for free. It also puts more and more.
I try. 1, you guys make fun of me. 2, you guys make fun of me horribly. Even if I fix the shaft issue. 2, I don't have an oscilloscope. If you send me one, I'll build you shit like this for future episodes. They're very expensive.
Or mechanical load on the prime mover. You can see when I spin the alternator with no excitation current, it turns freely. But when I increase the current, it becomes more difficult to spin. Modern power plants adjust the excitation current in a generator to regulate the voltage of electricity leaving the facility, something that would be much harder to do in a device that uses permanent magnets that don't need electricity to create a magnetic
Well, I know.
The power for the excitation system can come
I
from
didn't
generators.
set a single fire today or yesterday.
Start working until the plant is running. In fact, power plants often use around 5 to 10% of all the electricity they generate. That's why a black start of a large power plant is often called bootstrapping, because the facility has to pick itself up by the bootstraps. It needs a significant amount of power, both to start and maintain its own creation of power, and that poses an obvious challenge. You might.
So this is talking about the bigger generation stations, and you have to have that on board. You just can't. You can't just start it from dry. Like, you have to have power to make power, which is interesting. Oh, shit. Don't ever give these information. It ends badly for me.
Be familiar with the standby generators used at hospitals, cell phone towers, city water pumps, and many other critical facilities where a power outage could have severe consequences. Lots of people even have small ones for their homes. These generators use diesel or natural gas for fuel and large banks of batteries to get started. Imagine the standby generator capacity that would be needed at a major power plant. 5% of the nearest plant to my house, even at a quarter of its nameplate capacity, is 18 megawatts. That's more than 100 of these. It's just.
So that's what we're talking about. Sorry, I missed a picture, but we're talking about 18 megawatts just to start the plant. So it's obviously not something you're going to generate and store in batteries. It's obviously not something you're going to get 100 of those massive generators burning fuel for, unless you absolutely had to. I have a sign about fire. It's not what it says though. So that's really a concern when it. We could put a. I have a sign that says it's not my fault I was left unsupervised. I think it says, something like that. But yeah. So, anyways, we're talking about massive amounts of electricity that don't just come from anywhere. And then you have to, if you're doing it in a station that's not part of that series, you have to step it up, step it down. It's really quite a process. It's quite a process to make that go across. So
Just not feasible to maintain that
it
amount of
is.
standby generation capacity at every
Hang
power
on,
plant. Instead,
I'll
we
show you.
designate black
Give me one
start
second.
sources that can either spin up without support using batteries and standby devices, or that can remain energized without a connection to the rest of the grid. Obviously, these black start power plants are more expensive to build and maintain, so we only have so many of them spread across each grid. Their combined capacity can only supply a small fraction of electricity demands, but we don't need them for that during a blackout. We just need them to create enough power so that larger baseload plants can spin up. Hydropower plants are often used as black start sources because they only need a little bit of electricity to open the gates and excite the generators to produce electricity. Some wind turbines and solar plants could be used as black start sources, but most aren't set up for it because they don't produce power 24/7. But producing enough power to get the bigger plants started is only the first of many hurdles to restoring service during a blackout. The next step is to get the power to the plants. Luckily, we have some major extension cords stretched across the landscape. We normally call them transmission lines, but during a blackout, they are cranking paths.
I couldn't find it.
That's because you can't just energize transmission lines with black start sources. First, those lines have to be isolated so that you don't inadvertently try to power up cities along the way. All the substations along a predetermined cranking path disconnect their transformers to isolate the transmission lines and create a direct route. Once the black start source starts up and energizes the cranking path, a baseload power plant can draw electricity directly from the line, allowing it to spin up. One trick to speed up recovery is to black start individual islands within the larger grid. That provides more flexibility and robustness in the process, but it creates a new challenge: synchronization. Let's go back to the model to see how this works.
So that's essentially what we're talking about here. Is there's this in-depth program that they're starting to use to energize different things. That's being developed and being drilled by the United States government. So that's what we're talking about, and it goes nicely with the Pennsylvania thing that happened earlier today. That's what I said. I think they got a jump start on it. So
I have both generating stations running now, each powering their own separate grid. This switch will connect the two together, but you can't just flip it willy-nilly. Take a look at my oscilloscope and it's
that
easy to see
sucks.
that these two grids aren't synchronized. They're running at slightly different frequencies. If I just flip the switch when the voltage isn't equal between the two grids, there's a surge in current as the two generators mechanically synchronize. We're only playing with a few volts here, so it's a little hard to see on camera. If I flip the switch when the two generators are out of sync, they jerk as the magnetic fields equalize their current. If the difference is big enough, the two generators actually fight against each other, essentially trying to drive each other like motors. It's kind of fun with this little model, but something like this in a real power plant would cause tremendous damage to equipment. So during a black start, each island, and in fact each individual power plant that comes online, has to be perfectly synchronized. And this is true outside of black start conditions as well. I can adjust the speed of my motors to get them spinning at nearly the exact same speed, then flip the switch when the waveforms match up just right. That prevents the surges of power between the two systems at the moment they're connected. You can see that the traces on the oscilloscope are identical now, showing that our two island grids are interconnected. One way to check this is to simply connect a light between the same phase on the two grids. If the light comes on, you know there's a difference in voltage between them and they aren't synchronized. If the light goes off and stays off,
I actually don't know tonight. Sorry, I'm just pausing so I don't get taken down. I assume I'm still up on YouTube because you guys haven't told me otherwise yet.
there's no voltage difference, meaning you're good to throw the breaker. Older plants were equipped with a synchroscope that would show both whether the plant was spinning at the same speed as the grid, or faster or slower, and whether the phase angle was a match. I bought an old one for this video, but it needs much higher voltages than I'm willing to play with in the studio, so let's just animate over the top of it. Operators would manually bring their generators up to speed, making slight adjustments to match the frequency of the rest of the grid. But matching the speed isn't enough, you also have to match the phase. So this was a careful dance. As soon as the synchroscope needle both stopped moving and was pointing directly up, the operator could close the breaker. During a black start, utilities can start restoring power to their customers, slowly matching generation capacity with demand as more and more power plants come online. Generally, the most critical loads will be prioritized during the recovery, like natural gas infrastructure, communications, hospitals, and military installations. But even connecting customers adds complexity to restoration. Some of our most power-hungry appliances only get more hungry the longer they've been offline. For example, an outage during the summer means all the buildings are heating up with no access to air conditioning. When the power does come back on, it's not just a few air conditioners ready to run, it's all of them at once. Add to that refrigerators, furnaces, freezers, and hot water heaters.
That's the other part. It's going to be a huge draw of electricity.
Demand on the grid after an extended
the demand
outage.
is going to be intense when it first starts up. So.
And don't forget that many of these appliances use inductive motors that have huge inrush.
Don't give them any
currents.
ideas.
For example, here's an ammeter on the motor of my table saw while I start it up. It draws a whopping 28 amps as it gets up to speed before settling down to 4 amps at no load. Imagine the demand from thousands of motors like this starting all at the exact same instant. The technical term for this is cold load pickup. And it could be as high as 8 to 10 times normal electrical demand.
It'll be a huge surge and it will break
average out again, usually after about 30 minutes. So grid operators have to be very deliberate about how many customers they restore service to.
Okay, we're going to stop stealing Grady's. So there's two more things that I wanted to show you briefly, and then we'll get into the bummer. So here's a hearing from 2016 and the 114th Congress. Blackout, are we prepared to manage the aftermath of a cyber attack or other failure of the electric grid? This one's an interesting one. I'm not reading all of it. I'm sure that there's a video of it somewhere. If anybody's interested in reading it, as you can see, it is a lot of pages. I'll drop it in Discord after. But it's quite a document. And that's them talking in an open session of Congress about how they could fix it. Here is also, that's something different. Yep. Absolutely. So here's power outage incident annexed to the response and recovery of federal interagency operation plans. So this is true. This is Homeland Security Management Directives. So these are all the different execution, administration, resources, and funding, oversight, coordination, instructions, and communication. So this is basically an outdated but an accurate, probably still quite accurate, from June 2017. And this is about long-term or massive power outages. And this does operational efforts, restoration of power. Hey, what's up? Choosy Heretics Choose Carnation Revolution Now. What's up? What about this messing with nuclear plants? Yeah, I mean, I could see that as, well, we are talking about the United States. So this is the interagency effort between the Department of Homeland Security, Federal Emergency Management Agency, National Response Framework, National Disaster Recovery Framework, and non-governmental organizations. So lasts from a few minutes to as long as 9 hours and affected over 7.5 million people in the US, Canada, and Mexico. Power was restored in nearly all affected areas by the next day. And here's several other: the Northeast blackout, Hurricane Katrina, Rita, Halloween nor'easter, Derecho. I never even heard of that. But so there's several. It talks about this is an interesting document. Again, I'm not going to go through and read the whole damn thing, but rural elective co-ops, federal power program, interdependencies. I'll also toss this in Discord. This one's an interesting one if you're interested in this kind of thing, because there's a lot of information about what agencies would respond to what certain things. Here's temporary power field requirements. So it has all this kind of figures for how they're going to move the fuel, how much they have to move, how much each, 911 centers, rescue facilities, all that kind of stuff, what kind of power generator that they would need, the range of fuel requirement. And of course, they don't care about us or our needs or our internet or any of that stuff, or our chewing on a shot on a bad pressure blackout. But they of course want to get hospitals and different public systems open. We also ship power across both the northern and southern border, and of course they ship that as well to us here in the United States. And this breaks down everything from Defense Production Act. So basically, if something like this happens, the government can levy private industry so that they can start building new transformers or new infrastructure to bring us back online very quickly. So it's something that material services facilities appropriate need response to recover from power outage. So of course, Ford and Amazon and everyone else is going to get power first. So hey, what's up, Composer? So here's natural resources, continuity of government operations. This is always one that they love to put in everything. Environmental considerations, water contamination and spoilage of food sources. God. Emergency care. So this really breaks down pretty much everything that would happen in the event. And again, the current one is obviously SSI, or security sensitive information. So this is the best one that we have to go off from. But there's some good information that I'm sure hasn't changed that drastically. But we can see a bunch of different things like that. Yes. You finally caught up. Does your sign say, "In my defense, I was left unsupervised"? Yes, it does. And it has a guy with his hair on fire. Had a t-shirt that said that. I 3D printed my sign. A government document out of date. Exactly. Saying it so. 200 character limit. Yep. So again, there's all kinds of stuff. DoD operational coordination. This is a good document, and like I said, I will link this in the appropriate section in Discord. So, and again, the reason that we're we're just saying that there's coincidence at some times. Sometimes there are coincidences that happen, such as on September 11th, or the fact that they did a tabletop exercise about a certain virus that had a major impact, or different things have happened where they're doing some kind of exercise, federal government exercise, and it just so happens, damn, that same day, the same thing happened. Breaking traffic halted after a naked woman exit vehicle opens fire on Bay Bridge in San Francisco, California. Shit. There was another shooting as well earlier that I saw. I'll see if I have any notification on that yet. Because there's one in Cedar Hill, Texas earlier too. The last one I see is the Cedar Hill, Texas. I don't see anything past that. Not that I don't trust you, just saying. Baltimore? What? I haven't heard anything either. But maybe we'll touch on a couple things that are outstanding. But the reason why this is relevant and the reason that it was brought up today, Fort Riley in Kansas reminds community of upcoming Black Start exercise, July 26th. Interesting timing to post that too. I'm not one of those number conspiracist people, but yeah, that's interesting. Fort Riley's Black Start exercise just around the corner, and this post will conduct an energy resilience readiness exercise, July 26th. Black Start is designed to test installations, emergency, and standby energy generation systems, key infrastructure, and equipment. That is, I would think so. Congress has mandated that DoD services test the ability to operate without power in an emergency. Senior officials will learn about the infrastructure needs for crucial installation missions in the event of a power loss. Start at 4 a.m., continue till 1 p.m. It's not just in one specific area. There are several areas across the United States. It's a nationwide exercise. This one is the most published one. So there were other local ones that had kind of brief power outages expectations. But this is getting the most publicity is the Black Start exercise will be rolled into Fort Riley's annual full-scale exercise, which tests the post emergency preparedness and provides training for the post and community partners involved in the exercise. So that's one of those, just one of those things to keep an eye on. And that's tomorrow. So that begins tomorrow. So that kind of wraps up that portion of it. Now, I did want to get to a couple things as well. And I figured the show would be around 90 minutes today because I'm still waiting and hoping that it rains. Holy hell, I'm hoping it rains sometime. Because I'm still congested because it won't rain. All right, so this is very interesting. So this is the gentleman that was Barack Obama's personal chef from started as I guess sous chef in the White House. That's true. That's true. And this is not the first time they've ever done this exercise, just to be clear. But I think it's all timed very interestingly. And the hope is that everything goes well tomorrow and we just roll into the next day and wait again. But that's kind of where I'm thinking. But maybe. So this is, gentlemen, we're gonna read some stuff because this story keeps getting weirder and weirder. And Comer earlier, did you see all the rumors? Blunt force. Obama was paddling. Also, they fled in a hurry. Was writing a book about the prize he served under. So, that's kind of in part why we're maybe. Yeah, maybe. That's up, Levy. It could have been chronic blunt force. So, oh no. So the mysterious death today. This is from Matt Wallace. He is very right wing, but we have to look at all the information. So the mysterious death toll today of Michelle and Barack Obama's private chef needs more attention. As details come out, it's becoming increasingly apparent that things do not add up. Tafari Campbell worked in the White House during the Obama administration and then decided to bring him home with them as a private chef when Trump took over in 2016. While Michelle is really Mike. Over the last 7 years, he has traveled all over the world with them and knows many of their deepest, darkest secrets. I would agree with that. Somebody that close is going to know the shit that's going on. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting more than anything. So, I don't know why you're the only person that has a problem with it. For real. Like, everybody, I'll have to look at it. I never remember to, but you're the only one that seemed to can't get in. But I'll look at it for sure. But that like water can't swim. It's only on Sundays. I took notes. Oh, perfect. Daisy's got it. Fantastic. Rumors are spreading that he was murdered because he discovered a book he was writing about his experience that included a lot. Oh, really? Okay. That's interesting. I joined from the app. And a long time ago. I don't know if phones suck at doing it. But anyways, this could have been seen as a betrayal from someone they trusted, who goes paddleboarding alone in the middle of a pond with no life jacket if you don't even know how to swim. To make things even stranger, a witness describes him sinking quickly below the surface and vanishing. That's odd. That's not how drowning happens. They can't swim, goes paddleboarding on the sea. Yeah, exactly. Huh. I can't join Discord from an Apple tablet, but not logged into Google. I'm not sure. There's got to be something with it, though. Exactly. They forgot to take that into account. Those concrete slippers. Why couldn't he grab onto his paddleboard? Why did it take them so long to find his body in only 8 feet of water? when a witness supposedly saw exactly where it happened. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird. Um, if it's in a pond that's not moving water, and it was only 8 feet, then, and why didn't he sink? Why did he sink? Why wasn't he on the surface? Like, when you die, you float back up. Maybe. What are the chances the Obamas happen to be out of town on the exact day this occurred? Why is the media playing cover up? Because they always do. Why would he leave his wife and kids behind to go paddleboarding? Why were many law enforcement officials so quick to write this off before an autopsy even took place? Will not stop investigating until the truth comes out. So there's, he knows how to swim, blah, blah, blah. Another Clinton thing that I'm not, taking the day off from. Yeah, he should have floated near 18 hours before, for near 18 hours before sinking. That's what I thought. Well, yeah. Maybe he didn't. I'm not sure. Oh, he could. Okay. I believe it's a standalone product. I've never been to West Virginia, but I could have been in Nantucket. What to say this? Well, that's true. So there was even a report, and I know media makes mistakes and things happen, blah blah blah. But there was a report immediately that said his autopsy showed that it was drowning. And there wasn't an autopsy done because it wasn't close enough. Interestingly enough, there was also a Clinton chef that was drowned in mysterious circumstances. So it does happen. It has happened. It will happen. Also, I guess that's news. The new Twitter logo is now an X, if you guys didn't know that. So this is Twitter, now X. I don't get it. I'm trying to see that new. See, I'm only still seeing the. I'm not seeing the new San Francisco shooting one. Let me check the other one. No, I'm still not seeing anything on it, so it's probably a little bit too soon for it. News takes some time to roll out. Right. Hash burn or dead, not dead. If you haven't seen that program, I did a program on Hash the other day. This guy drowned in 8 feet of water and couldn't be found. Epstein hung himself. Whatever you do, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, especially if the curtain man is Bill Clinton. He probably should make it X Twitter. Discord is standalone. The browser version is poor. Okay. No shit, huh? Wow. Fantastic, Jacob. We're just about to end too, buddy. Yeah, I know. Well, it takes 3 minutes to get to the news sources, and then after 5 minutes, it's not new anymore. Well, that naturally you would, I would think. So, no, I believe it's still the narrative is still paddleboarding. So, for now, until that doesn't make sense anymore. So, he probably knew something. But, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for me tonight. Tomorrow, shit, I didn't even look at what time it is. Let me look. Because tomorrow's going to be a different time show. Come on, tell me what time. Does anybody know the UFO shit tomorrow? Anyways, I haven't actually seen a time for it. I haven't looked, but I haven't seen a time for it. Wednesday at the Pentagon. Hang on, I'm looking. Hang on, I'm listening to CBS. 9 a.m. Thanks, Sleep. So starting at 9 a.m., I will be covering live the UFO hearing on Capitol Hill. 9 CST. Okay. So 9 Central. So that'd be 10 a.m. Eastern. Damn, that took me too long to figure out. 10 a.m. Eastern, I will be covering the UFO hearing on Capitol Hill. So that should be when? Today? There wasn't anything that I saw today, but I could have missed something. But anyways, I will be covering that. That is going to be interesting. I am excited. There's supposed to be whistleblowers about alien technology that the United States government has been hiding from the American people. So I will be covering that in full tomorrow morning. So catch us tomorrow. If UFOs is your thing. Oh, did they? That's exactly what happened. The bombers initially reported that they were at home yesterday, but have redacted that in a statement today and confirmed that they were home, supposedly. Jesus. And it's when you start going back and forth like that, that's when it becomes an issue. Like, oh shit, we got to line up our stories. So all right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope to see you guys in the morning. 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. And we will check out the new UAP congressional whistleblower. With that being said, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for XComer becoming a new member and with a super chat. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we'll catch you in the morning. Take care, yo.